Hello everybody, it is I'm Gaming here, but anyways, really quick, I just want to say if you guys want to go ahead and apply for my team, I just made a bunch of space after that race because we really need some members that can participate in that, so if you guys can think that you guys can help out, then make sure to go ahead and apply right here. Just search up Smarties in the search for team and go ahead and apply. And without further ado, let's get into the main video. Hello everybody, it is I Am Gaming here, and in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and explore and explain Cosmic Era. Now, there are a bunch of eras as you can see. However, to me it all started in the Cosmic Era, and that is when the true story of Monster Legends started, because they basically reconned everything that happened before that. So, all these factions here don't matter, and I will say I will be using the descriptions of all the monsters and everything that I can find in these books to actually go ahead and produce the story for the Cosmic Era, because the Cosmic Era didn't have a straightforward era saga that came during the Corrupted Era, and I'm taking a lot of deep breaths because we're about to get into a bunch of things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just take a quick look at the Cosmic Era, because the Cosmic Era introduced 74 monsters. Oh, and oh my gosh, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to summarize and explain it the best I can because we have so much to get to, and it's 2 in the morning, and I probably am gonna be up pretty late at night. So yeah, here's every single monster. As you can see, there's a bunch, and I actually did get every single one of them. I read through all their stories and just tried my best to produce a storyline. So without further ado, let's begin. The story starts when a huge star filled with magical powers and a bunch of magical and powerful resources ended up growing way too large and eventually imploding on itself, scattering itself all over through the land of Petra, where usually Monster Legend takes place. So I'm not sure about this fact. It is implied that it may actually be Petra, is what I believe. I'm not sure though. But yeah, anyways, this implosion and explosion basically created portals all over the galaxy and surrounding the land of Petra and just all of Monster Legends. So these portals actually ended up doing a bunch of things. However, the really main and important one was that these portals created some sort of virus, or not virus, but just really spread a bunch of crystals. Now these crystals right here, they weren't just any normal crystals. These were filled with a bunch of resources straight from the stars that exploded, and well, they spread pretty freaking far. Now, these were extremely hard to harvest resources, and they weren't the easiest to get to, and that is because these contain Stardust. Now, Stardust is this powerful resource which could do a lot of things, and we're about to get into what exactly it can do. And this is probably the most impactful and incredible thing that ever occurred inside the world of Monster Legends. Now, Stardust could go ahead and turn elements such as the underworld's fire into a monster like ice, or some random mud around the Cardinal Forest into monsters such as Rodden here. Now, Rodden could even bring back monsters from the dead. That's how strong this monster and resource was. It could also fuse two monsters that were already existing together, such as Rockilla and Thunder Eagle, I think is his name. But basically, it could fuse two common monsters and create incredibly powerful mythic cosmic monsters, such as ThunderKong here. Some people even went into extreme lengths, like Dr. Victor here, who turned two monsters into a much powerful monster, extracting the souls of two monsters here, and then combining them into Bombetta, which, by the way, cells are just basically the DNA for every single monster that exists on in Monster Legends. So yeah, as you can see, it could do not just this, but it could also, these portals actually could go ahead and bring monsters from other worlds and other planets into ours, such as Kodama here, who came from a plantful planet, which I think is pretty awesome. But what it could really do, which was insanely cool, was it could even travel across time, bringing over monsters such as Vanos 2099 and Laserbeam 2099. Now, these monsters were kind of insane because they were from the future and they could be brought back into the past, which in my opinion was pretty cool. But that just shows the power. Now, with this power, well, a lot of monsters wanted to get their hands on them. And, well, this would create a lot of future problems. Um, and I mean a lot. A lot. Okay, so besides some personal gains, which a lot of these monsters, I'm not even gonna lie, their stories are very similar, with a lot of them just using them for revenge. Some other monsters would use them for different paths. Solar Flare, on like one hand, would want to use it for revenge. Vixen right here, the dragon would want revenge as well. However, some other monsters decided to take a different path and exploit the resource, such as Manipulate, who would use this monster, or not monster, use this resource as a something he could harvest, sell, and use to manipulate other creatures and monsters. Now, with a market form, some monsters would go ahead and purchase or interact with this cosmic power. And for example, Alvida here interacted with Stardust and actually took over her faction for that time, which just proved the power of this king. A lot of monsters grew interest in this, and this interest grew into kind of a cult in a way, because these monsters would not only exploit the resource, but they would find extreme powers with them. A more extreme example of this would be what happened with Mr. Beast, where he went through a portal and he got ripped apart into two, basically creating a clone, or Latalis here, who was dead, and he got basically brought back to life. Now, that is a big thing. This thing could also bring back creatures or monsters from the dead, which was insane. Like, that is just how powerful this resource is. And with all this power, you just know the way, just like the real world, whoever controls the power, well, now they're in charge. So the factions, for example, they really wanted to get this power spread out. For example, like at this time, the superhero faction was formed, that it wasn't entirely strong in the way it should be, but it started showing signs here with creatures such as Bruce Wayne and Kaguya, which was sent over from the Fury Dojo to go ahead and explore the corrupted portals and use and exploit the resource to actually become powerful and bring more power to the Fury Dojo faction. I forgot what the monster is. I know it's Alvida, I think, too. It's a plant monster from the Gaia, for example. The Gaia swamps and whatever, they need to protect these, so I believe it was actually Aldea or something like that. That created Craster using her spores in order to protect this. Of course, the Underworld created Ignis, the monster on the right here, to go ahead and forge more powerful weapons, and the Fiery Forces helped Kai become the Sun Melter, thanks to the power of the Stardust, and become extremely powerful in order to really give a good defender in order to protect it from other forces. Now, some monsters were cosmic beings that came through this portal, such as Atrox. He came from another universe where he came to actually heal monsters and help them, but also to warn of the use of it, which is going to be very important on later, where he said that the Stardust can actually be manipulated and transformed into something very evil. Now, more powerful cosmic beings did come through, including Lindworm, which is going to be a big key player at the beginning of the next era and like right at the end of this one. Now, the thing about Lindworm is he was extremely powerful. He was a pure cosmic being. He could not only create portals, but something that was very important, he could close them. Now this gained a lot of interest from the supervillains and superheroes, because superheroes, of course, wanted to close these portals in order to stop this like influx of resources to supervillains, and supervillains who wanted to become more powerful and just truly rule over the world. So Lindworm was someone that really wanted to be taken care of. The Stardust also gave more power to smaller factions, such as the Wolves across the portal, and allowed them to compete with much larger factions with just a small party of 3. And of course, orders were formed, such as the Order of Draconis, with Dradis, Vishka, and Nahane, which were just very powerful, basically just transforming the whole era and bringing a whole new faction of small groups, basically just creating a huge power imbalance is basically the best way to say it. Now, that technically is the end to the story. There really isn't much to go off on, and the rest, and a lot of this really is purely speculation that I put together through stories, but that's basically the introduction to the Cosmic Era. Now, the rest is a lot more thorough, but Atrox Warning will be very important for the future that I'm going to talk about in the next part, where we're talking about the next era. This truly really is only the start. It is the most bland start you can think of, but it is going to lead into a lot. And a lot of this has to do with the Stardust resource, because this resource is going to become possibly the most important thing to ever have happened into Monster Legends. But as for now, it is just the beginning. Now, that is going to be the end, because there's so much more to talk about, and I just need to save it all for the next part. So for now, thanks for watching. If you're new, this took surprisingly a long time, but it'd be great if you liked and subscribed, and maybe drop down a comment down below letting me know your thoughts, and if you guys want to see a part 2 of me explaining this lore a lot more detailed and everything such and that. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the Cosmic Era, and I'm gonna say this right now, the Cosmic Era was truly peak. Now, while the story wasn't truly fleshed out, the gameplay and everything was absolutely beautiful, and I truly wish everyone could have experienced it. But without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all next time. See you guys.